So I typically upload a video every week, but it's been about 2 weeks now since I last shared a video, and today I'm going to tell you why. Welcome to LaKeisha's Beautyland. I am LaKeisha R. Founder of Beautiful Me Ministries, a Christian organization geared towards helping women and girls discover healing, wholeness, and healthy self-esteem through Jesus Christ. You can find more information at www.beautifulmeministries.com. But you can just consider me your personal hope infuser and confidence booster. So today's video is a little bit different from what my usual content is and will be. Today I am sharing more of a personal story or a personal experience about something that I have been challenged with for about 10 years now. So for the last 2 weeks, I have basically been unable to walk, sit, stand, or move much because my body has been in so much pain. I have been to the emergency room twice within a 4-day span and had to have 2 quite painful procedures. So today is the first day in the past 3 weeks that I am pain-free and just able to go about my normal day-to-day life. So what is this thing that has challenged me for 10 years? So I suffer with a condition called Hidradenitis Suppurativa. This is something that you say it and most people are like, what is that? Because it's not very widely known. I'm going to give you the scientific definition and then I will give you my personal experience. So hidradenitis suppurativa is a chronic systemic inflammatory condition where an overactive immune system contributes to inflammation below the surface of the skin. Inflammation starts on the inside before showing up in the layers of the skin as bumps, nodules, abscesses, and tunnels. While the exact cause of hidradenitis, also known as HS, which I will refer to it as HS from this point forward. While the exact cause of HS is unknown, there's a lot more to HS than what you can see on the skin. HS typically develops in areas that grow hair and where skin rubs together. It also occurs where sweat glands are located. Areas infected include underarm, inner thigh, underneath breast, buttocks, groin area, back of neck, and ears. Flares are what it is called when the inflammation beneath the skin rises to the surface of the skin. And when you have a flare, pain is an understatement. So that is your scientific definition of what hidradenitis suppurativa, also known as HS, is. It's basically a skin condition where you suffer with an inflammation that it develops deep in like your tissues, your nodules, your lymph nodes, and then over time that inflammation rises to the surface of your skin and it forms what normal people would experience as like a boil or an abscess, where your skin you get like a bump on your skin that is painful and it's like a pus filled bump. So that is like hidradenitis times 25. So if you've ever had a boil or an abscess under your arm or under your breast or whatever, then you have a slight idea of what HS feels like. Just multiply that by like 25 times and you have HS. So a flare is what happens when HS attacks your body. There are 3 stages to HS. It's mild, moderate, severe. I have stage 3 HS. Okay, so let me give you the backstory. So in back in like around the end of 2010, I went to the doctor for a regular annual. Went to my OBGYN for an annual, and during that visit, she felt a knot on the inside of one of my breasts, and it was painful, but it wasn't. It was discomforting, like it hurt, but it wasn't like excruciating pain. But she felt a knot there, and she was concerned about it. So she scheduled me to go and have a mammogram done. So the mammogram appointment came maybe like a month later. And it just so happened that the day before I went to have the mammogram, I found out that I was pregnant with baby number 3. So when I went for the mammogram, because I was pregnant, I could not be exposed to the radiation. So I couldn't have the mammogram. So what they did was an ultrasound on my breast so that they could see what the knot was all about. So when they were doing the ultrasound on my breast, they were able to see that whatever was in the knot or whatever had caused the knot to form was like liquid. And they said that it wasn't something that was cancerous, but it looked like something that was just fluid filled. And like the fluid, they could see the fluid like moving around. It was weird. They were dumbfounded. So was I. So when I went back to my OBGYN for a follow-up, she didn't know what to contribute it to. So it went away and I went on. But during the course of that pregnancy, I continued to get these, what I just thought were boils. I would get them between my breast or under my arm, that they would get so big and so painful that it would really like have me in tears. And so I would just go to the emergency room, and they would do this thing called lance and drain. They would lance it, where they would numb it with some topical numbing medicine. They would inject it with some numbing medicine, and with the scalpel, they would make a small slit in it, and drain out the pus. It sounds disgusting, but just gonna be open and completely honest, because this has been an ugly 10 years. So like I said, during the course of their pregnancy, like they just kept popping up. And my doctor thought that, just because of being pregnant, your hormones are out of whack, things are just, kind of off in your body. So she figured that, it was just the pregnancy, so one of the things that just came along with being pregnant that particular time. So after I had my baby in 2011, I didn't have any issues for a while. I don't remember when the next issue specifically arose, but it did start to happen more and more. I would get these, again, boils. It was mainly either under my breast or under my arm, both arms, both breasts, and it was just a lot of pain. A lot of times I would get fevers because I would get infections. So it was a lot of going back and forth to the doctor, trying to figure out, why do I keep getting these things, where they come from, what can I do to stop them. And it just, no answers. No dermatologist, no doctor could give me an explanation as to why I kept getting these painful boils on my skin. And sometimes it would be like in clusters, so it wouldn't just be one bump. It would be like a cluster of pus-filled, painful bumps that, like I couldn't move my arms, or I couldn't, sit upright, or it was just painful. And I just kept getting them. I kept getting them, and still nobody could give me any answers. It got to the point where, first I was just getting them under my arms and under my breast. Then I started getting them in my groin area. Started getting them in my growing area. You know, that's very uncomfortable. Anywhere where your skin rubs together or their hair grows, those were the specific spots for me where I kept getting these painful boils. And then um, I just kept getting them, and I couldn't understand why. I just had no idea. I was clueless as to what was going on. About 5 years in, I'd say around 2015, 2016, it really started to get chronic, like very, very chronic. Out of 365 days in the year, maybe 250 of those years, I was dealing with um, flares, pain from flares, being debilitated from flares, being in the hospital from infections from the flares, just not being able to lead a normal life because the pain was so severe. And what happens is underneath the skin is like deep, deep underneath the skin, and it forms tracks and tunnels. So um, where you may get inflamed or have a bump in one spot, underneath that, it's like tunnels and tracks to other spots that are going to eventually pop up. Okay, um, so the ugly part of HS is that a lot of times the when you get the flare, the abscess, when you get it drained or cut open, it doesn't close. They don't close. So it's constantly leaking. There's a constant flow because it has developed tunnels and tracks underneath your skin. It's a constant buildup or constant flow of like pus. So I had to constantly always wear bandages, always bandaged up. Then I started to, it went from my armpits, my breasts, my growing areas, then it went to my buttocks. So I started to get flares um, in my buttocks area. And so, of course, they would open and there would be a lot of drainage. So, of course, I was always bandaged up, always very self conscious because whenever something is constantly wet or when pus or abscesses get infected, it brings odor. So it was always like an odor, and I was so self-conscious because I felt like other people could smell it. I was fearful that I would leak through my bandages whenever I was out in public. I would bathe like 4 times a day because I felt dirty. I felt stinky. I wouldn't let my husband get close to me unless I had just gotten out of the shower, taking a bath. Because I felt like I could smell it, so I felt like everybody else could smell it. Um, and still at this time, I was doing my own research. I still had not gotten a diagnosis from a medical professional about what was happening. And by this time, I had been hospitalized countless times for infections. I had sepsis. Um, there have been times where I ended up going to the emergency room and doctors were like, if you had waited another day or if you had waited any longer, you would have gone into septic shock from the infections. Um, and so just doing my own research because doctors still were not able to give me any answers on, why this was happening to me. They would treat it the best they could with antibiotics, with draining them, but that was it because they really didn't know what was going on. And so I just started to do my own research. And in my research, I discovered hidradenitis suppurativa. And as I researched it, I found that I had 100% of the symptoms. And so once I was able to figure it out, like, okay, this is definitely what this is. So I would take it back. I took it back to my doctor. Can't remember what doctor I was seeing at the time, but I took it back to them. And it was like, this is what I believe I have. And they didn't know what to do for it. They didn't know what to do for it. This was probably like 2016. They didn't know what to do. They were like, this is not something that we see often. There's not a lot of medical research about this. Like, we don't really know how to treat it. There's no cause and there is no cure. all we can do is give you some antibiotics, maybe some topical treatments, and, you know, just hope for the best. The worst. I felt so helpless because it had gotten to the point where I was spending days and weeks where I could not do anything. I couldn't move because the pain was so severe. Like, I literally would just have to lay in my bed and not be able to take care of my kids, not be able to clean my house, not be able to cook, not be able to do like anything because the pain and also the sickness from constantly having infections was horrible. Oh my God, it was horrible. I would just be sick all the time, in pain all the time. It was, nothing would take the pain away. Over-the-counter meds would not take the pain away. Of course, you can't just go to the doctor and get narcotics, you know, to help with the pain. So it was a lot of just years and months of just being in pain every single day. Some days not being able to push through it, and some days, you know, just doing my best to put on a happy face and push through it. Around 2018, it was so severe. So severe. I was dealing with it under my arm, my breast, under both of my arms, both my breasts, my growing area, and my buttocks. And then I also, you see this right here on my face? You see that? So this, it started to affect my face. So the other places in my body I could hide. You know, the other flare-ups. But when it started to affect my face, it just put me even more into depression. I was already suffering with depression because I'm dealing with a disease that just makes you feel embarrassed. It makes you feel dirty. It makes you feel like you're not doing something right. It makes you feel ostracized because you don't want to be around people because you're afraid that they may smell your flares, smell your sores. The sores never go away. The sores, they never close. They never go away. And so you always have open sores, and you always have leakage, and you always have odors. And it didn't matter what kind of soap I used. I started to use antibacterial soaps. Because the doctor said, well, maybe, you know, maybe you may have staph on your skin, so use antibacterial soaps. So I started using antibacterial soaps, and the antibacterial soaps started to completely dry out my skin, making me itch really bad. And my skin was just so incredibly dry. That didn't help. I tried bleach baths, where you just put like a capful or two of bleach in your bath water, and it'll help to kill off any staph or something that you may have on your skin. That was a no for obvious reasons. Significantly reduce things like dairy, white breads, pastas, and all those things that could cause inflammation. Did that. Also did steroid shots. What else? Oh my God. Antibiotics. I probably have tried every antibiotic out there. Things would help momentarily or temporarily, and then the flares would just become even more and more aggressive. So back to this. So it started to affect my face, and my face, like right here. First I would get like little bumps on my face, like little, you think they were pimples, blackheads. But then it turned into like this huge, and if you've been following me for a few years, then you probably remember, when my face flared up right here, it was horrible. It was, oh my God, it was so painful. I went to a dermatologist, and the only thing that they could do was give me a steroid shot and some antibiotics. And it went down, but it still left. This was actually bigger. This was much bigger than this. So it left that on my face. And then probably like a year after that first time it attacked my face, it did it again. And it flared up again. And I went through that again. Again, they could do nothing but give me a steroid shot, and it went down in a couple days, but it still left me with this. So this is one of my scars from HS. I have countless scars from HS. Okay, so it's so much, but I'm trying to condense it and give you the short version. So fast forward to like 2017, 2018. Then I started going to see plastic surgeons because dermatologists couldn't give me any solutions, regular doctors couldn't give me any solutions, and since it dealt with the skin, I was like, hey, let me talk to a plastic surgeon. So I started to see plastic surgeons, and basically they told me that the best thing that I could do, because my condition was so chronic, um, you know, what the condition made me think makes me often think about is Job when his body was covered in sores. Like, that's what it's like. That's honestly what it's like. It's 100% what it's like. But anyway, I started to see plastic surgeons, and the plastic surgeons would tell me that the best option for me, because my condition was so severe, would be to have the surgery called excisions. And what that entailed is they would go into your infected areas, take out lymph nodes, and all of the infected tissues, and then close you back up. The only problem was that it wasn't a 100% guarantee that it wouldn't show up in the same area or in another area again. And I had so many areas, both armpits, both breasts, growing area. Then it shifted to the back of my thigh and my buttock. So I had so many areas that most doctors were afraid to even mess with it because it was covering such a large area of my body. So anyway, I finally decided that at first I didn't want to do the surgery. At first I didn't want to do the surgery because I wanted God to supernaturally heal me. And so I told God, like, this is how you're gonna heal me, and that's just it, period. But God was like, no, that's not how this gonna work, boo. I'm gonna heal you, but you're gonna have to go through a process. So anyway, fast forward to 2018. Yeah, fast forward to 2018. I finally found a surgeon that I wanted to proceed with, but then I ran into the issue that insurance would not cover it because it was considered a cosmetic surgery. But in my case, it was a life and death surgery. The infections that I was constantly getting was taking a very, very severe toll on my health. So this wasn't a surgery that I wanted. This was surgeries that I needed. But $10,000 a pop, it was like, I guess I'm just gonna have to suffer. I guess I'm just gonna have to continue to suffer. But as God would have it, I prayed about it and I was like, Lord, if this is the route that you want me to take, then I'm gonna need you to work it out. And God is just so amazing. He did exactly that. He led me to a doctor, a plastic surgeon. Shout out to Dr. Brooks at USA. He is absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. I went to him and he developed a plan. And so I had the first surgery. The first surgery was like November, December of 2018. So for that surgery, I was going to have my left arm. I was going in for my left arm and my buttocks. And the plan was to remove all of the lymph nodes, the sweat glands, and the infected tissues from my armpit and my buttocks. Because my left arm was worse than my right arm, and I didn't want to do both of them at the same time because I would have been like totally handicapped. But anyway, so went in for surgery. What was supposed to be a 3-hour surgery turned into an 8-hour surgery because it was that severe. So coming out of that surgery, oh my God, it was so hard. It was so hard. So what they did was under this arm, um, they took out my sweat glands, they took out my lymph nodes, they took out all of the infected tissues, and then they pulled some skin from my back and made what is called a flap to um, give me, an armpit. So currently, I do not have a regular armpit. Um, um, I do not have a regular armpit. I have a flap of skin from my arm that they put beneath here, and they also had about 30% of my left breast removed because I was having issues there also. Um, and then on my buttocks, um, this is gonna sound crazy. It's gonna sound like, oh my God, but I literally had both of my butt cheeks cut off. Yep, cut off. Like it's straight SpongeBob back there right now. So I have a huge scar. On the top of, it's like a T. Huge scar back there. So had the first surgery, turned into an 8-hour surgery. Oh my God, the recovery was gruesome. I ended up developing an infection, was not healing well. And so the flap, like literally the skin started to deteriorate under my arm. And I ended up with an infection, ended up really sick, ended up back in the hospital for the second time after the first surgery. And so what they did that time was try to revise the flap. They took a little bit more skin from my back and put it under my arm. And turns out that also did not take. The skin did not come together and heal. So again, I developed an infection, got sick. Third surgery was when I had what is called a skin graft. And what that is where they take skin from a healthy spot on your body and put it, where the skin needs to be. So I had a skin graft where they took some skin off of my left thigh, my outer left thigh, and put it under my arm. This time it definitely did better. But that was like December or January, either December 2018 or January 2019 that was like January 2019 when I got the skin flap, and it took a year and a half for the skin to completely grow back under my arm. So just around May of 2020 is when my skin under my arm completely grew back. The side of my breast it did okay, and when they cut out the buttocks, it healed fine. I just have nothing back there now, and that part affected me a lot because it really changed my body. And so I became very like self-conscious in clothes. I didn't want my husband to see me. I felt like if I wore certain things, it was so noticeable. I felt like everybody was staring at me. Like, it was hard. It was rough on me mentally, emotionally, and physically. I couldn't walk. I couldn't do anything for myself. I still had the use of my right hand, thank God. But I couldn't walk. I couldn't bathe myself. I couldn't dress myself. Like, I could not do anything for myself for about 4 months. My mother had to move in and take care of me. So then fast forward, and let me go back. I have not had any issues with the places that I had the surgery the first time, which were my armpit, the side of my breast, my buttocks. No recurrences. But and then about 6 months later, I started to have flares under my right arm, aggressively under my right arm and the back of my left thigh. Oh my God, the worst. And so instead of just continuing to suffer, I decided, okay, I'm going to have the surgery again. So in November of 2019, I went in for surgery for my right arm. I could not do the back of my thigh because it was the area was so large that he would have had to like go into my groin and pelvic area, and we just didn't want to do that. So I went in for my right arm November of 2019, and everything went good. You know, the surgery went well. Um, but about a week or two later, I noticed that, like, again, the skin was dying off. It was not healing, was not connecting. Like, it was gross. Like, the flap where they pulled the skin from my back and made a flap, I ended up having a literal hole in my back that was infected. And then, like, the skin around the sutures was just like turning black and dying off. So then I ended up back in the hospital. It was discovered that, you know, I had some other underlying health issues that was causing my skin to break down and hindering me from healing well. So I ended up back in the hospital. That time I was in there for about 3.5 weeks, just trying to get it to heal, trying to get it on the right track, just trying to get my underlying issues on the right track. Recovery again was gruesome, painful. Oh, I would not wish this on my worst enemy. I would not wish it on anybody. It's one of those diseases that nobody likes to talk about because it makes you feel like it's something that you're not doing right. Like, it makes you feel dirty, it makes you feel embarrassed, it makes you, you know, just be self-conscious. But there are a lot of people that suffer with HS, and for 10 years I have suffered. I have tried. Now, I after I got better, fully better from my last surgery, I guess around March, April 2020, I've been fine. I've had no issues. I've had no flares, like nothing, until about 3 weeks ago when I started to feel my leg, start to feel some pain in my leg. And then within a couple days, it was a full-blown flare-up. And it's one of the worst that I've had. And I ended up in the hospital, well, at the emergency room, twice. I went the first time I went, they lanced it and drained it, bandaged it up, put me on antibiotics. 4 days later, and I was right back because it had flared right back up. So it is very aggressive. Even while I was on antibiotic treatments, it still flared up. It's a very, very aggressive condition, and it's nothing that you can do. Like, you have no control over it almost. And people will say, oh, just change your diet. Oh, just, you know, change your physical activity. You can do all of that. I have done all of that, and it will still attack your body. It's one of those things that you really just don't have any control over. You don't know when it's going to flare. You don't know how long it's going to stay flared. You just don't know. And the pain is debilitating. When I tell you that you can't move, I am not exaggerating. Between 2016 and 2018, I spent most of my time in the bed, not able to do anything. Like, it robbed me of so much of the vitality of my life. And so many people are suffering right now. Like, anytime I post about a flare up, I get inbox messages that's like, oh my God, I think I have that too, or I've been dealing with that too. And it just goes to show you that you are never alone in whatever you are going through. I am better now from the flare, my recent flare. I am continuing with, you know, taking care of my health, just doing whatever. I only have that one area now that has the potential to flare, which is, I'll take that. Trust me, I will take that over what it has been over the past 10 years. But I'm proactive in my health. I eat pretty good. You know, I'm not a vegan. I'm not, you know, but I am healthy. I know what foods to stay away from. I keep my weight down. I work out. So I'm doing what I need to do to make sure that I am being proactive and making sure that I am doing my part, and not contributing to the matter. But yeah, Hidradenitis Suppurativa. If you think you have it, there's an amazing website that has a lot of information that'll help you understand the disease more, and just give you some more insight, let you know things that you might need to talk to your doctor about. And that website is www.nobsaboutHS. www.nobsaboutHS. And I'll put that in the description box. But guys, I just wanted to share my experience with you, and honestly, it's not even the half, but it is a glimpse into what I have dealt with the last 10 years. I do believe that I am completely and totally healed. This will not continue to be an issue for me. I'm confident in that. But I wanted to share that and spread some awareness, because it's something that most people don't talk about, because it's embarrassing to most people, but it's no known cause. It's nothing that you do to cause this. So it's not your fault if you're dealing with this. You're not dirty, you're not nasty, you know. It's an overactive immune system that just gets out of control and causes this horrible, horrible, horrible disease to overtake your body. Though I had such a difficult time with my surgeries, I would not change my mind about it. If I had to do it all over again, I would absolutely do it, because it has made me better. It has allowed me to get back active in my life. Yes, it was a very, very, very hard processes to go through. My body has gone through so much, but I wouldn't change it, because I am better. So at the end of this video, I will try to show you all some pictures of some of my surgeries, some of my scars, and what my scarring looks like now. I have a lot of scars, but scars are just proof that God has healed you. So, all right, guys, until next time, know that you are beautiful, you are valuable, you are worthy, and you are whole. Bye. Thanks for watching. Now do me a favor. Like, subscribe, turn on your notifications, leave me a comment, and share. See you next time.